And I remember going into the meeting afterwards, and again, I don't think he'd mind me saying, he just said, "Well, I'll eat my hat." And I was like,
Really?
"Yes, I've made it."
Oh, good for you. Unbelievable.
And that was the moment where I again went home and remember telling my partner what happened. And I remember him like fist pumping because he knew. He was actually like, "Yeah, you've done it, you're in."
Well, I just got goosebumps. So,
I know, it's making me
fantastic.
feel, yeah. I remember that. That was when I was like, okay, I think
Amazing.
I'm going to get the chance.
Hi, and welcome to the There's Another Way podcast with me, Adam Halverson.
And me, Pete Dolby. And you've come to the place where each episode we'll be shining a light on authentic people who have chosen an alternative path to their new normal to find another way. Hi there, I hope you're having a good day so far. Today we have the absolute honour of chatting with none other than Team GB Olympic rower Annie Campbell-Orde, fresh off her bronze medal win at the Paris 2024 Olympics. Annie gives us a rare, behind-the-scenes look at her journey, from feeling out of place in school, to discovering a love of sports, and to unexpectedly falling into rowing at university. She shares the gritty reality of breaking into the elite world of rowing, and how her sheer hard work, dedication, and resilience led her to secure a spot on the Team GB's Olympic squad. In this episode, Anna reveals just how much sleep she got the night before the Olympic final. She reveals which famous sports stars she hung out with at the Olympic Village, and the key people who inspired her along her journey. Despite her fierce competitive streak, Annie is just a humble, lovely, down-to-earth person and an absolute inspiration. Her story is nothing short of remarkable, and we can't wait for you to hear it. So settle in, enjoy this one conversation. It's one you won't want to miss. There's Another Way. Well, here we are, sat in a very historic library in the middle of Leander Club, in the middle of Henley, which is just incredible, surrounded by these historic oars on the wall and lots of different historic books. It's an amazing place to be, and we're absolutely thrilled to be sat here with Annie Campbell-Orde, who is an Olympic bronze medalist from Paris 2024. Now, how does that sound?
It's the best introduction I've ever had.
I mean, just incredible. I mean, those words roll off the tongue. Olympic bronze medalist in Paris. It's amazing. How have the last few weeks been? A bit of a whirlwind.
It's definitely a bit of a whirlwind, yeah. It's still quite surreal to hear that, and it's been nice to go home and see everyone, and that's definitely made it feel more real, I think. Obviously in Paris, it's not normal, but everything's a bit crazy, so having a medal is just part of the crazy experience. But then, coming back here with it is really cool. Amazing. I mean, wow. I know, watching from afar and then being in Paris for a few days, the atmosphere was just incredible. I mean, it felt a real privilege to be there. So I'd imagine competing and being in the athletes' village and seeing all the people walking around, the famous athletes and stuff, must be just a bit of a mind-blowing experience. Yeah, I've obviously not been to one before, but I just think they did it so well. Like everything, the village, everything. We actually stayed in a hotel to start with, near the rowing lake, and that was so nice as well. They did, just had all the athletes' lounge they'd done everything so nice, and seeing everyone, all the different countries. It's kind of surreal because you see it on TV. Do you know what I mean? It's the sort of thing you see on TV, and it was just so cool. We did everything that we possibly could.
Oh, good for you. Yeah.
Was it sort of what you hoped it would be?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I had loads of expectations or not. I think I was so worried about racing that I hadn't really thought about the other stuff. And any girls who had done one before had done Tokyo, which is obviously so different because no one was there. So I don't think they even really had... They could share their experiences of racing and stuff like that, but they didn't really have loads of knowledge of what that other stuff would be like. And it definitely surpassed any thoughts that I had, particularly after, I think, because the first bit was very much about the job we had to do in the racing, which was not the same as other regattas, but it's a lake, it's 2K, it's very similar. But then after was all the bells and whistles and everything that was wild.
Do you feel, so going to a regatta or a competition or a championship versus the Olympics, you must feel that weight of, I don't know, expectation almost, and just gravitas, because it is the Olympics, so what that carries with it. Do you feel that extra pressure when you're going to
Definitely. I think, I actually think I really felt it for the final. So we had a heat first, and I felt strangely calm for that, because I just felt kind of ready. You know, we felt like baggage for like 4 years or whatever, just tired all the time, and you get a really nice taper into the Olympics. So I felt fresh and like I was the strongest I've ever been. And I think with the heat, I was like, I had time, because I had the heat and then potentially the rep, and there was just loads of time, so I felt quite calm. But the final, I was not calm. And that was definitely all the pressure that you think of, even when you think about it, going into it, like that times 100, I've never felt like that before any other race.
Well, we've just dug straight into the Olympics, which I want to probe and ask so many more questions, but I guess before we jump into the Olympics, we should probably take a little look back about where your stories began and growing up, where you grew up, and what got you into sport really, and how you became an Olympian.
Yeah, so I grew up in Somerset. So I lived in Oak Hill for primary school, and then moved to North Witton, which is like between Wells and Glastonbury. So if people know the festival, I live really near there. Can actually walk to that, which is great growing up. And I was very tall, since forever. So I wouldn't say that I was necessarily like naturally that good at the school sports, because didn't have really the coordination or anything. You know, when you grow so fast, you sort of can't catch or anything like that. But I guess I got good at sports in probably secondary school. I was good at netball, so obviously tall, and then I got my coordination by then. So that was my first sport that I was like, I'm actually good at this. Like I can really do this, and actually got picked for teams and stuff. And I went to Wells Cathedral School for secondary, and then I moved to Milford for sixth form to do netball, and I was pretty good at netball there. So that was definitely like my sport, and I finally was like, I can do this. And I think because I went into my primary school not too long ago, and that's what I was sort of saying. I was like, if you're not good at sport now, that's fine. You'll find something, and everyone's good at something. And so, you know, I was glad I found my thing that I was good at. That
must have been a rewarding experience going back to primary school. Did it
so
seem like
nice.
It shrunk? Like all the chairs are so small.
It was. Well, it was all redone and modern and painted and lovely, but that was really fun. And then from there I went to Loughborough University.
Okay.
With the intention of playing netball there and to study English. But actually when I got there, I did play netball, but they do like sports bazaars, so there's loads of stalls basically of all the sports, and I was approached by quite a few because I am really tall, so you know, like basketball and I think women's rugby maybe, and then rowing. They were like, you should come and give it a go. And a few people had told me before, oh, you'd be really good at rowing because long levers. So I thought, well, uni, I'll try something new, you know, branch out a bit, and went to the taster days for that. And I would love to say I was a natural, but again, I definitely wasn't a natural. But I loved the people. I've really met some of my closest friends there. And so we just kept going back because it was so fun, you know, hanging out with people, going on the water. So I just kept going.
So it sounds like sport, obviously Millfield, Loughborough, it sounds like sport was sort of a big thing in your world, especially I guess early on, maybe not taking to it really quickly. Where did that come from? Was it just something you enjoyed, or was it a family thing? Or
my family are active. Like my dad was really good at swimming. I think he did triathlon and stuff like that when he was younger, and he actually went to Millfield as well, funnily enough.
Okay.
So definitely in the family. And my mum, she didn't necessarily do a sport, but she's very active, like, you know, keeps herself fit. So definitely had those role models, if you like. My brother, very good at sports, just the usual, you know, hockey, everything. So definitely surrounded by a sporty family. And I think perhaps when I wasn't so good, it was a bit of a like, oh God, what? She can't like play, you know, badminton. I just like miss it, you know? And I think that was maybe a bit painful for them.
You've had the last laugh now.
yeah, true. And actually my brother used to spend hours trying to get me to hit this badminton thing, and I think mum and dad gave up pretty early.
Yeah.
So fair play to him, and I did eventually. I can now hit badminton. So but yeah, so definitely surrounded by it, but not like forced upon me. I don't think it was like, I did other stuff like music and things as well, but I think it was just when I did find something I was good at, I loved it. I loved that I was good at it, and I loved that, the wanting to get better at something. And I never really thought about it before, to be honest, about like what got me into it. But I love netball, and I still do. I want to go back at some point.
I've heard Loughborough is a very excellent university to go to if you are into sport. Would you recommend to anyone else that's looking at going?
Definitely, yeah, I do. It's slightly different for me just because rowing, it was actually tied with the Nottingham Rowing Club at the time.
Okay.
So we travelled to Nottingham, and then basically all my rowing was just at Nottingham Rowing Club. They didn't have, I competed at Bucks for Loughborough, but they didn't have, at the time, a Loughborough Boat Club. They do now have that. They've gone away from that and do that, which I think is going really well. So it's slightly different in that I wasn't loads to do with Loughborough, but the gym, I got to use the gym, which is insane, like Power Base it used to be called. I actually don't know what it's called now. The facilities are crazy, so good. And obviously I was lucky to have that in Millfield as well, so I feel like I've really been spoilt with like the facilities for stuff. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. I loved my time there.
That rowing facility in Nottingham, I've been there a few times. Is it West Bridgeford way or not?
Yeah.
I've been there. I've walked around it a few times, and they've got like a little whitewater rafting area or canoeing area, the kayaking. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, because I lived in West Bridgeford for like 5 years.
Which is lovely.
Which is so nice, yeah. And yeah, they have like the lake, which has got all the canoeing or kayaking. I get confused between the two. Those two, like the whitewater bits, and then they do it on the lake. And then it's also the river, and along the river there's, I think, 3 boat clubs. So I was Nottingham Rowing Club, and there's also Nottingham Union, and maybe Nottingham University. Yeah. So yeah, that's where I literally learnt to row and rowed for most of my rowing career.
Right, okay. Trent Bridge, cricket ground as well. I mean, you've got a lot there. I really like West Bridge.
So nice, really nice.
And also Millfield, so was that very sports led? Like, is that sort of what took you there?
Yeah.
It was on netball, I'm guessing, at that point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I moved there just to try and see what I could do. That was definitely the first proper step, deciding to leave all my friends, everything. I knew no one at Millfield. I leave everything because I just thought that I could do it. I think, obviously, without, I don't want to say anything bad about any schools because I loved all my schools, but I think at Wells, that was maybe not being given the opportunities. I thought I could be quite good at it. Yeah. And maybe because I hadn't always been sporty, they maybe had me in a box, if you like. And so I think the decision to move to Millfield was definitely like the bravest decision I've made. And from that, it sounds really funny, but I think of it in my head, the thing that I think is different between people, everyone can do sport and be good enough to go, but not everyone is brave enough to fail. And I think that was my first decision, where I was brave enough to take the decision and know that I could fail. I could have gone to Millfield, not gone any of the teams, looked really silly, do you know what I mean? And my old school would have been like, you're an idiot. So I think that was the first decision that I made that was very brave and
almost sort of
failed.
breaking the mold a little bit in terms of putting yourself out there, because I think if I'm right in thinking, your secondary school as well is a good school, as in it's not, I don't know masses about it, but it's sort of probably not the school most people tend to leave.
Yeah, no, really good school. Yeah, definitely. And it's Millfield's obviously really sports focused, which is why I wanted to go there. But the school before was sort of everything. So yeah, really good school, and I loved it. And it was a big decision to leave because I was very happy there.
It's really interesting you say about daring to fail, because I remember reading a book on golf, funnily enough, and it was saying, because golf's a very individual sport, and you get down to the 18th, you're in a major tournament, and you've got the crowd that everyone looking at you. You've got to dare to, you've got. It might not happen, but you've just got to go and play your best, because if the pressure's too much, obviously, one shot and you're out. But just that daring to fail is an interesting. And
not everyone's. It's terrifying because it could be humiliating, but I think it'd be worse not to even try, because then you're definitely not going to do it. Do you know what I mean? They're definitely not going to get the hole if they don't even try.
Exactly.
And was that sort of mindset, was that, again, do you think that came from your parents, or were you sort of quite internally motivated? Or
It's definitely from me. Initially, I sort of said, I actually think I want to move. And I remember my parents being quite shocked. And I think a little bit worried, because it could have gone quite wrong. I could have, and I think I did cry a lot in the first week of going there, and I think I did say, oh, have I made a mistake? But they were very, very supportive, and as soon as I said I wanted to go there, like my dad was like, yeah, let's go look around, we'll go talk to them. You know, they were never, obviously parents are going to worry, but they were like, that's what you want to do, that's what we'll do, you know, so they definitely made it happen. But I remember saying it first and then being like, are you sure? You know, that could really be, but I don't know, I just was, you know, there's just something in your mind. I was like, I just think I can do this, and I think I need to try and see what happens.
How old were you at that point?
So that was for going sixth form, so year 11. How old are you in year 11? So like, you know, quite old, like not child, but not adult
moving
either.
away it's a big decision, isn't it, to do that?
And I still lived at home, so like I didn't have to board at any of these schools, which was nice.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So I still was in the same place, but I didn't know anyone at the school, and you don't realise, do you, like going to a new place, I didn't really think about having to make new friends. And then you get there and you're like lunchtime, the dining hall there is huge, there's so many people, and do you just sit on your own, like, you know, like and I didn't really think about it, and then got there and was like, oh my god, I've literally got no one to sit with. So that was really not that nice.
If it's any consolation, my brother went there actually,
really?
and I think he had a similar experience. Just completely, he went there for tennis, and it was completely the same sort of. I haven't really gone into that much detail with him about it, but I think he had the same experience. He's like, all of a sudden you get there and you're like, oh, hold on, what am I doing?
I did not think this through.
Exactly.
But I'm glad I did it, because out of your comfort zone, and then I think that's shaped then further decisions, because
you kind of start building your confidence. And
definitely
amazing.
So when did rowing come on your radar then? So when you started university, there were a few clubs that approached you and said, do you want to try rugby and do you want to try rowing? And at what point do you think, actually this could be the sport for me?
I think I'm not sure, because I was then going to Nottingham Rowing Club with my friends from uni then, and I don't know, I sort of fell a bit out of love with netball. Like I don't know, I struggled because I'd been performing quite well at school, and then at university, you know, you're a fresher, doesn't matter how good you are, you're not getting in a team because you're a fresher, and I found that quite hard, because I was like, I feel like I deserve to be in, and so I found that quite difficult. So that's why I sort of tried to have a bit of a break from it. I actually don't know when the sort of penny dropped, but maybe I did like the fact that I was starting something completely new. You see big changes. Do you know what I mean? You improve really quick because you're rubbish, because you've never done it before. So I quite liked that, like the challenge of seeing big changes, which obviously get less and less as you get better. I actually don't know. I just enjoyed it, so I just carried on going.
Was it the fact that you were participating in new sport? Was it the team ethic, the kind of the social side of it, or was it just getting stuck into a new sport?
I think the social side. For sure. They had great parties and socials with the boat club, and everyone was there. And I also liked that it was girls and boys. You know, netball's just girls, so it was nice to be like mixed, better group sort of dynamic. I quite enjoyed that. Met loads of new people. And I wasn't the tallest all the time, so that was also another bonus that I enjoyed.
Brilliant.
So,
and then, so you're developing at Nottingham Rowing Club, and when did the penny start dropping that actually it could be something that, you know, you can be?
I think it was probably my erg scores first, so the indoor rowing machine. I could get some pretty decent scores for how long I'd been rowing, and then sort of gradually got good enough that they would be okay to go to GB trials.
Wow.
So I'd say for me, I was definitely better on the erg before I was better on the water.
So erg's an indoor rowing machine.
Which are horrible, and I'm not recommending, but they're very good for you. But I guess I'm tall and I got fit and stronger, so I was doing the times. You have to get certain cut-offs to go to trials, and so I could get them.
And sorry, just to kind of, what's that? Because I've never had it in my life where I've just done something and then been like, oh, I'm actually really good at it. Maybe apart from a couple of things, but not to that level.
Tell us.
What are the things?
The only thing in drumming is I sat down once at a drum kit, I could play it. I'm like, that's never happened before. So that I get one thing, but not to an elite level. I don't want to sit here and compare your experience. But what is that feeling like? Where is there a penny drop moment when you're like, oh, okay, I'm actually not even quite good. I'm like really good.
I think, I mean, obviously everything's with kind of, so for example, the scores I was getting were for not the senior scores to start with. I could get like under 23 cut-offs, which I must have been under 23 at the time, but I was not good enough to row under 23 standard, if you see what I mean. And I think having the people to train with, like there were girls much better than me, and I was like, that's cool, I want to do that. So then you see yourself getting closer to them, and you're like, oh, now I'm only this many seconds off, or whatever it is. And so I think, I wouldn't say I was just automatically good at it, but I think I had the mentality maybe like automatically, where I could just take, and because it's new, you can just take big chunks off your time every time, and that was really exciting to me. And it was cool because I'm like you, I wouldn't say I'm naturally just can do everything. And it was exciting that I was like, this is really cool, like, because I thought these people were really cool, and now I can do that. And I think that was when I was first like, oh, maybe I could actually go to like GB trials or something. And because I wasn't super sporty younger, I don't think GB had properly been on my radar. And that possibility, that's just so cool, isn't it? So I just, from then, just was like, okay, I want to get as fast as she is, and then I want to get that time and that time and that time, and then I just kept training until I just could do the times. Amazing. Sounds really easy, I know, but
I'm sure
it
wasn't.
Not.
Was there like an advocate? Was there someone who sort of invested in you, or was there someone who kind of saw something and said, you know what, actually this could be a thing, or again, was it just how did that play out?
Definitely the coaches at Nottingham Rowing Club. So Nikki Hardy got me into, she was the one who was like, come and try it, and took me as a novice. And then I moved to the senior women, which was Des Atkins, and 100% them, because I think he would have been the person who was like, you could actually do this. And even as I went through and did trials and underperformed, didn't get high enough up on the water, he was the one who was like, you have it, like I can see you've got it. And I don't think I've ever had anyone, when someone's so sure about you that it doesn't matter if you're sure or not, kind of thing. Because I don't think I didn't know much about rowing. I didn't, kind of a bit naive, a bit oblivious. But he was so sure that I was like, well, I guess I'll just keep going then. Because he was like, I've seen the team, I've seen you, I know that it's in there.
Wow.
So definitely wouldn't have carried on if it wasn't for them. So they saw whatever it was.
That's amazing how influential a coach can be. We were chatting to Erin about some significant people in her life that have played a big part, and like you say, if they hadn't been there, you might have just enjoyed it, but not taken it to the same level.
Because they know more. These people have obviously a position of power, but I don't know what the word is, but like influence. They know more than us. I didn't know anything about rowing, so when someone who you think knows their stuff is like that confident in you, you're like, why would you waste your time on me? So it's very powerful, I think, when you can do that for someone.
Also, you mentioned about, so you were very determined, and you knew what you wanted when you moved schools, and you've got this driver within you, haven't you? You could see when you started rowing, you could see your times were decent, but you wanted to keep going. Where do you think that drive comes from?
My parents say I was very stubborn, so maybe that. I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? I actually don't know. I think I don't like it when someone sort of has an idea of what you can or can't do, or like other people, do you know what I mean? So I'm like, I want to decide what I can or can't do, and I don't think you know what you can or can't do until you try it. And there's loads of things that I can't do, but when you're like, well, actually maybe, and then I just think, just try, and then I think I don't like not like pigeonholing myself or anyone else. I think that's like really, that irritates me. So I think maybe it's that.
You touched on at the beginning, like being tall, and then sort of with that came, not being able to do certain things. Do you think that sort of almost early adversity is sort of maybe give you a bit? Do you know what? Actually, I can now leverage these almost. You can look at it the other way and think, actually, height is a gift, and do you think that could have played a part?
Definitely, yeah, because I did hate being tall. I think if you're a boy and you're tall, that's so cool. You're the big one, you're taller than everyone. I was the tallest in my year, probably until I went to Millfield, and for a girl, that's not as much as I'd love to say that's powerful, it's not. It's hard when you're growing up, taller than all the boys, taller than everyone. Nothing fit me. I couldn't get school shoes where everyone else gets school shoes, and all the clothes were too short because they don't make them long enough in the school shop, etc. So I think I hated it, and I don't like feeling like everyone can see you. When you're at any event, if you're in front of anyone, they're annoyed because they can't see. And so I definitely didn't like being tall. So I think when I found an advantage to it, I definitely was like, I'm going to latch onto this because, and I don't mind it now. But I still sometimes, people do look at you, I'm much bigger than everyone else. So it is hard. And I think, I like that I've managed to find something that works for it, if you know what I mean, and use that. And that's what I want girls to do, because I get it. It's not, especially in primary school, you see the tall girls, I'm like, I get it, it's not fun. You feel self-conscious all the time, but actually you'll probably be better at sports than everyone else here.
You must have come in handy at Glastonbury as well.
It does come in handy at Glastonbury.
How tall are you, Annie?
6'1", so not there's loads of girls taller than me, and now it doesn't really bother me. But I think when you're young, because I've been my mum's actually 5'5".
Is she?
So she used to walk me to school and I was already taller than her.
Wow,
And every day someone tells you've grown, and it just why do people have to say that?
Why make a comment?
I know. I'm growing, and people say you're tall. Imagine if I went and told someone they were small.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be outrage.
And
I just don't get it.
Or a particular size, if you comment on a size, you
outrageous. But tall, like is fine. Which when it's not nice, because obviously now I'm just like, I am. But when you're growing up, it's
the pressure of school, isn't it, to conform, and the kids are kind of exactly.
All the cool kids are wearing all the cool clothes and all the cool things that they don't do in your size. So I think I love that it's an advantage, and I want to tell everyone, the young girls growing up, it's an advantage. It will come into its own, and it'll be worth it.
Absolutely. Well, I think also with mental health, I mean, I heard the other day actually that teenage girls, I think, are the most miserable that they've ever been. And because of obviously a lot of social media influence, but obviously not just that, but I think even the pressure of conforming and all of that kind of stuff. And I think to hear a story where actually, sort of almost no matter what thing you might have been given that's almost a disadvantage, actually is you can shift it into
it's a superpower.
Into a superpower,
And we always want what we can't have, don't we? Because so many people would love to be tall, and so I feel like I can't want rid of that, and I don't. I love it now, but everyone wants something. The small ones all really want to be tall, so it's just accepting what we've got, isn't it? And I hate that about the girls. It's so sad. And I think I can't remember the statistics, but I saw something about how a really high percentage of girls are dropping out of sport as well. And I guess it's all kind of linked. It's self-conscious, don't want to wear the kit,
Absolutely.
don't want to get flesh out, I guess. I don't know, whatever the reason is. I just think it's really sad, and we need to do something.
It's really sad that at school and the playground, it fosters that mindset around, highlighting people that do have differences. I mean, that's life's all about people. Not everyone's the same. Everyone's, everyone has their own strengths, and it's a shame that the school playground kind of fosters that environment. And people really struggle with it. And obviously, I think schools are a lot better now than they used to be in terms of bullying and stuff like that. But it's just not important. I mean, you realise, as soon as you leave, it's why do we spend so much time thinking about all that stuff? There's a big wide world out there, and there's, But no, it's really interesting. So Team GB. So you got wind of the fact that your times might allow you to do a Team GB. How did you feel about that?
It was because I went a few times, and it was kind of we'll just go to do it without the expectation of anything happening. And it was obviously terrifying. At the time, probably the equivalent of the Olympic final, terrifying. But now, maybe.
Can I just say, actually, because you've used that word a couple of times, but what it makes me think of is being terrified but doing it anyway. I think that's coming across quite a lot from this conversation is, clearly these things were daunting for you, but there was something that you knew you had to do it.
I think you just, if you want to get something or do something, if it's worth, I know it's that classic saying, if it's worth having, it's not going to be easy. It's just, there's just everything, not just sport. It's just going to be scary things, like doing a podcast. I'm being recorded. I think just, do you know what I mean? Like, things are scary and you just got to do it because,
yeah.
unless obviously it's something horrible, you don't have to do it. But I don't know, you just don't know until you've done it. And I was nervous, but I knew that I had to do some to then get better at them and then get somewhere, you know, work or whatever. You've got to do the horrible, scary jobs to then get promoted or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
a common phrase, isn't it? But life begins on the edge of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
You push yourself because if you stay within the confines of, you know, you don't grow.
Don't really get anywhere.
So I think trying these new things and pushing through that, you know, you learn so much from it. I think.
Yeah, so that's it. And if I hadn't got it, that's fine. I would have just known that I was capable of something. Even just going to them, I was capable of something that I wasn't before, even if I hadn't gone anywhere.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
So
how did they go then? So
really bad. Yeah, it felt really terrible actually.
Really terrible.
I was in a single, and I'm not the best sculler, so that's with the two blades. And I mean, by the end of my time at Nottingham, I had got quite good in a single because it's just all I did for years. But I don't know, it just didn't click for me that. So I'd do okay on the erg. I'd come fairly, you know, good for a small club kind of thing on the erg, probably good enough to do something, but not good enough on the water. And GB, they weren't interested. And I hadn't done under 23s or any development stuff either, so I was an unknown. So I do think it's, obviously if you do well enough, it's not harder, but with my average results, it's then harder to kind of break in because I don't know who I am. They're not just going to take a random, you know, whereas if you've done under 23s or whatever, they might know you, so know that you're good already, even if you have a bad day or something. So not interested. So didn't get anywhere for a very long time.
So after those trials, how did you feel coming out of those?
The first one's sort of like, oh well, you know, I did my best, it's fine. But then by the time I'd done a couple of years, I did have some pretty serious conversations with my coach about stopping. You know, I was like, I've done my best, I've done everything I can, but it's just not looking like it's going to happen for me. Like, I can't, as I say, the ergs, I think I was always up there, but then it just wasn't. And, you know, why would GB look at me? I was doing not that good performances on the water. They were fine.
So is that a technique thing? Is that the difference between the erg and the water? Is that because obviously the erg and the data will show that you've got the physicality. Yeah. So is it a technique on the water?
Yeah, I think so. So I had like the engine, and don't get me wrong, I wasn't like the best on the erg, but would sort of do solidly, you know, but compared to the water, it was better. But technique, I guess. How I was moving the boat, just wasn't. And sometimes I did do a couple of performances that I did quite well at, but still no bite from GB. And obviously for them, they had other people that they already knew who, even if I did better than, you know, they'd maybe done more stuff, or they were already in the system, so they already knew about them, you know. So I was going to be a risk, I guess. And also coming from a smaller club, you know, being at Leander, they can come and see you train. You can, if they need a spare, it's just down the road, so you just go and fill in. Nottingham Rowing Club, I was on my own, had to do a single because I had no one to sweep with. Nothing.
So actually it sounds like a lot of it was also circumstantial. It's sort of, you know, your kind of environment necessarily wasn't actually helping you shine as much. And obviously I hate to say it, but there is an element of luck in these things, isn't there? You have to be right place, right time, be known, kind of thing. And I didn't have anything perhaps going for me, so even if I did an okay performance, you know, it was going to have to be standout for me to kind of get noticed, which is fair because I hadn't done anything. So, and I wasn't doing a standout performance. So back I went to Nottingham.
What was your mindset when you were having the conversation with your coach about quitting? What were you thinking you might do? Did you have any alternative plans?
Well, I think ultimately I'll hopefully become a teacher, do English, because that was my degree, and coaching of some sort, hopefully, at a school. So that's kind of what think I'll do eventually whenever I decide to do normal life, if you like. So I just, you know, guess I'd move home or move back or find somewhere to live or try and get a job. But it was sad because, you know, you put a lot of it into something, as I say, in the knowledge that it might come to nothing. You might not do anything with it. So I think it was sad, and it was frustrating because he still was like, I know you're good enough, and I know that if we can just get you into a crew boat, I know that you can do it. But I wasn't giving him the results to fight for me. Do you know what I mean? There's only so much he could go to the coaches and be like, I've got a good athlete. At the end of the day, I had to do something to get them to select me, and I just couldn't. And it was then that Des was like, you need to move to Leander. I'm going to contact them because you just need people to row with. You need someone to go in a pair with so you can do sweep. And you need to get in crew boats to have people to push you on, because Nottingham's a small club, so it was just small people. And at the time, there were people who had rowed less time as me. Mm-hmm. So I'd say I was sort of a more senior one, so I didn't really have many people to sort of push me on.
So you needed that environment to help elevate you, I suppose. But you say about you need to get into Leander. How does one get into Leander Club? Do you have to do a trial? Are you interviewed? Or
at the time I didn't really know, and I was like, well, do you think they'd even have me? And I was also sad because if I got into GB, obviously I wanted to do it with Nottingham Rowing Club. They'd done all the graft kind of thing. So I was a bit sad about it, and also was like, should I go, or am I just the same thing going to happen there? And then I've uprooted my whole life. I'd actually just signed for a new rent on a house, and I was like, well, I've signed, how am I going to get out of that? But actually Des did it all. He contacted Ross and obviously gave all my, what I'd done, times, etc., whatever he had to give, and I think spoke to Ross. And then after Henley Women's or something like that, I then came and Ross showed me around, and then they offered me a place, and I had to ask my landlady if she'd let me leave early.
It's a good excuse,
which she did, yeah. But shout out to her, because you know what, they don't have to, do they? And she let us, me and my boyfriend were living together, and he uprooted his whole life and came with me, and she let us leave early, and we got a new rental in Henley, and the rest is history.
Amazing. And how long ago was that?
So that was I joined Leander in, I'm going to get it wrong, I want to say 2022, okay. I'm pretty sure. So that's when I started here, I guess in the September, did a season here, and then at the end of that season I was selected to do development stuff for GB.
Wow.
So yeah, pretty quick turnaround.
You realised that actually that move, you validated that move almost at that point.
So I basically had to learn. I had done some sweep at Nottingham, but not to the standard that they are here. So I was really lucky actually that Ross and Rich put me in the sort of trialling group with the sweep athletes, who were all very good sweep athletes and had all done things before, they'd already done under 23s or development stuff, and bless them having to go out in a pair with me for the first time, because I was truly awful, but they stuck at it. So it was very easy for me to get good at sweep because I was rowing with people who were very good, so they're just telling me what to do, and the boat's already good because they're all good, if you see what I mean. So that transition was made a lot easier. I was very lucky to be surrounded by very good athletes.
I'm just fascinated between the small margins of literally having the discussions of stopping to that turnaround. I mean, and also to have an advocate like Des. I mean, I don't think that happens. He must have really seen something.
I know, I'm not sure what, because I didn't ever really do anything that was that. But I know, yeah. And that is why I came. I don't think I've been brave enough to message Ross myself. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not doing well at trials. Why would I then? I mean,
did you work really hard? Did you show him something like attitude, as well?
What Des? Yeah. Definitely. I did all the training and a lot of it on my own. So I think I showed the mentality of being able to do it, and I did. Yeah, and again with ergs. So the erg 5k cutoff got changed to 18:15 while I was at Nottingham, and I'd only just managed to do the 18:30, and I think that's hard. The 5k is almost harder than the 2k cutoff, and not that many people could do it at the time, and it was just like, how am I, again, to carry on the trials process, I need to do this. And I remember that being a moment when I got that. I think I got 18:14.9, I think I got. And I remember that moment, I was like, I can't believe I just did that. And that was another moment where I was like, okay, I'm actually really good at, I know, and that score now is actually probably to any GB athlete, it's like, oh, it's rubbish. But that moment I was like, I can't believe I've just done that, like basically on my own. Do you know what I mean? Obviously with a coach, but like training with people, but no one else is doing that. And I think stuff like that, I was like, actually, I can do whatever I decide that I want to do if I work hard enough. But yeah, fair play to Des to do all that, because obviously just having a season at Leander, it was amazing and they were so good. But, you know, Nottingham taught me to row. So in that short space of time, I must have already had something to bring in just a season, if you know
like
what I mean.
Fascinating sliding doors moments, isn't
Really.
it? It's just, it's almost frightening, because you just think the amount of people who would have been like, yeah, do you know what? It's not meant to be, or and then ultimately we wouldn't be sat here, and you know the whole story is different. I mean, it's just because I from having a small insight into British sport, sometimes I'm quite cynical of it, because you know, especially in football or maybe some of the more mainstream sports. I mean, rowing is mainstream, but you know, like the really obvious ones is most people don't get an advocate or that opportunity. And obviously, you know, to use football, you know, you look at Jamie Vardy as a sort of a freak story who didn't, you know, nearly did this and he didn't get, what was he, 26 when he got into proper, you know. So it's amazing that, you know, to think, okay, I'm sure you would have had a great career as a teacher or as a coach, but it wouldn't have been this, would it? So
No. Yeah. And that's why it's just so important that we have those coaches and those people to just be like, why not you? Do you know what I mean? Try. And not everyone is going to be lucky enough for it all to work out, but it might take you, you know, I might have got this far and then found something amazing in Henley, you know.
Yeah.
Did you have to pinch yourself when you were rowing for Leander Club? Was it because it's we were talking earlier, I mean, it feels like it's one of the most elite clubs in the world for rowing. Was it a pinch yourself moment?
100%, yeah. It's like iconic, is that the right word? I don't know. Because if we ever rocked up to regattas, it would be like, oh, Leander are here, so we're going to lose. So then being Leander, and yeah, I loved it. I loved my seasons here. And yeah, as I say, you're surrounded by amazing athletes, amazing coaches, all the facilities, amazing boats, and obviously it's so beautiful out there to row there. And obviously it comes with the pressure of you're expected to win, I guess, most things. But I'd not, coming from Nottingham, I'd not been in a position before where I actually could win, you know, and coming here, I wasn't necessarily straight away in the top boats, but pretty quickly managed to do that, which was amazing. And then to be like, we actually could win something.
It feels like a very, I mean, we've been here for a few hours. We had a wander downstairs and got a coffee and met some of the athletes down there. It feels a very welcoming place. Did you feel welcoming when you joined?
Yeah, definitely. I was, again, when I joined, there were I think maybe half new, half returners, so that was quite nice that I wasn't the only new person. So a lot of us were like, oh, we have no one to sit with, so that was nice to come with the group. Quite a lot of the new ones had done sort of GB stuff before, so they'd come from maybe Brooks or UL and things like that, and so I knew who some of them were, just, you know, from knowing they're really good at rowing. So that was a bit daunting, rowing with them, but they're also lovely. And now it's so lovely as well being back. I know some of them from when I was here, but a lot of new people, and everyone's just really friendly, and we're all working for the same thing, you know. So it's not, well, it's weird actually, isn't it? Because it is competitive when it gets to the summer and you want to be in the boats, but you also want everyone else to do well as well. So it's really nice.
Brilliant.
And I guess in a way, when you got here, there must have been a sense of like, well, I'm here, like as in I'm here for a reason. You know, so I guess what it sounds to me is almost like your confidence increased almost at each small incremental step. Because I think sometimes it's very easy for people to think that, oh, they just arrived at this destination, whereas it sounds like your journey was actually very up and down. Like there was a lot of big decisions, and even coming here, it's like, oh, I've heard of that person, I know that person, and that sort of like, wow, do I actually really belong here?
What's it called? I've forgotten what it's called when you imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome, yeah.
That's so real, definitely. When no one knew who I was. Fair enough, no one should, but I knew who everyone else was. So that definitely, you have that. And silly little things like when you're put in different boats each day and you're like, oh, no one's going to want to go with me, because I was the worst. So then someone gets read out with you and you're like, oh, they're really going to be disappointed that they're with me today, because obviously they want to be in the best pair and do the best at trials. So initially that was quite hard as well, because you're doing your best, but then in the end people do want to go on a boat with you, so just kept going. And
so when you got here, what was your mindset? Was it just, I'm just going to work really flipping hard?
I think I was like, this is a huge move. As I say, my boyfriend left, basically his family live up in Nottingham, so left them to come with me here, and so I was like, I've just got to give it everything. I've got one last hurrah, and even if that's just that I win some regattas with Leander, then that's what it is, but I need to just have no regrets, basically. And similar to Nottingham, just worked my way up, and then did well enough in trials throughout the season that then I think we did Windermere Cup, I think was my first development thing. Then I did do well. Then I did World Cup 3 in a development crew, and then I went to Europeans as a spare because the spare got injured, so I was like the next one, and because I was here, it's easy to. I think that was 2022 season that all of those things happened. So pretty wild from being at Nottingham Rowing Club to then
almost giving up to then being on the fringes of the GB.
Yeah, and then being on the fringes. That's when I was like, right, this is fair game now. I just need to basically one more step, to get in. But it wasn't actually quite as straightforward as that. But
you felt it was in your grasp. You felt like you're getting edging closer and closer.
Yeah, can almost feel it.
Who was encouraging you at this point? Was it Des? Did you say? Was it?
Well, he was still at Nottingham, so obviously Ross, Ross and I think Rich was taking the trialists at the time. I think Ross was having a baby with his wife, having a baby. So I think he was here, but mainly doing the club, just so that we had more of a consistent coach. So Rich was taking us through that, and I mean, Des has still messaged me before every single race that I've done. So he's still in there, but just not. I haven't seen him.
So he knows how influential he's been in your career.
I hope so. Yeah. I'm actually going back to Nottingham Rowing Club next weekend.
Amazing.
For a homecoming, so I have to make a little speech. So I need to try and think of the right things to say.
Oh, you'll smash it, I'm sure. You have to send him the podcast in advance so he knows how influential.
Just play that for everyone.
Oh, that's amazing. So you're on the fringes of Team GB. You'd had the first season here, and it was starting to get real. So what happened after that?
So after that, I think I decided to come back to Leander because it was kind of some people, either some Olympians were coming back and they'd sort of gone straight into Caversham to do almost like development in Caversham. Do you know what I mean? Because they knew who they were already. They're already good, but just had a break. Or some people were in a similar position to what I was in, being the spares and stuff, and they were straight into Caversham. And I actually decided to come back here to do the trials, because I know with Caversham people can get ping-ponged in and out quite a lot, and I felt like I wanted to go in and stay in. Once I was in, I didn't want to be sort of in out, and I knew what I was doing here, and it was a single anyway, so I was like, we're not in crew boats, I have to do a single for trials, so I can do it here. I know Rich knows me, so I came back and did that. Don't think I did super well in a single from what I can remember, but I was on the radar now, so I think I did a decent erg. I think I did okay in the single. I think I beat the right people enough to be kind of noticed. Then came back here, and then we had February trials, which again I was in a pair and I did okay in that as well. So then they took us two, me and my pair's partner, into Caversham to go on camp with the squad, and then I don't think I came back after that.
Caversham, sorry, which squad? The Team GB squad?
So they train at Caversham, so the GB team, right. They were like, we want 2 development athletes to come with us on camp, so which was an experience. So we went and did that, and I had actually done camp the year before. Someone was injured and they needed a spare for the World's camp. So I went to the first half of that because I was the next bowsider, if you like. So I went just to fill in on the camp, which was brutal. I had to do most of it on the erg because I was the spare. So I had done a camp before, so then being invited in with my pair's partner, because we were like the next ones, if you like, and then we went on camp there, and then I just stayed in the team.
And presumably, I mean, that must have been an incredible experience, but presumably at that time, obviously Paris is looming. It's 2022, or 2023?
I think this is, start of the next season.
So
but
you
the
knew
2022,
on the horizon.
And obviously, although I did get into the team, you're bottom of the barrel in the team. So you then have to, because not everyone in the team then races, so it was then the battle of, it's funny, isn't it? 'Cause each time you think, once I've made it. So I was like, I think I'm kind of in the team now. But then you're not actually picked to go in any boats.
How big's the team? So it's 8 in a race. How many's in the team?
Yeah, I don't remember how many was in the time, but obviously the year before they didn't even have an 8, so they just had a 4 and a pair of sweep. And then there's the scullers, so quad, double, single. But then they have more people than that in the team, if you see what I mean. So there's extras. And I don't think there was an 8 at this time. They hadn't formed the 8 yet. But obviously we were hoping they were going to do an 8 for Paris, because otherwise there's only 6 seats. So I had to then try and work up and prove that I wasn't the worst, which was a battle, but it is for everyone. So that was, I've had lots of arguments with coaches, lots of tears, but eventually did some seat racing. I can't remember if that might have been the next, although I feel like we are in the next season. Anyway, did some seat racing, and thank goodness did really well in that. So then was selected, and they formed an 8, and I was put in the stroke seat, and then I was never taken out of it.
Amazing. You mentioned earlier on about when you started rowing, you could make gains quite quickly, but I guess when you get into that point where you're on the fringes of the squad, you're in the team, to make those incremental step ups must be so hard.
It's so hard. It's such small changes, and you're doing everything. Do you know what I mean? You're training 3 times a day already. Like, what else can you do? And similar to what I said before with being unknown, again, I was in the team, I was an unknown. I hadn't got a past Olympic medal, I hadn't got a past under 23 medal, all these things that all these people have done, so amazing. So they've got that in their back pocket, that the coaches know that they're that good, if you see what I mean. So again, I had to do something almost more extraordinary to prove that I was fast enough to go into the boat, if you see what I mean, because he could be like, well, I know that they're that good because they've won this, that and this, and he was like, what have you done? And I'm like, well, nothing.
Was there like a single moment where you're like, okay, like I'm in, I've done it, like, I mean, I'm sure there was, but I don't know, that there must have been that feeling where I'm like, okay, this really, like, there's almost no other level now, like, because I think about it with my son, right? He plays football to a decent standard. It's like you're saying, every time there is a new level. Whereas I suppose almost now you've kind of actually, I'm there.
Yeah, I think it's weird to think that, like, it is weird, because obviously people just say, well, the next one's gold, the next level. But I feel very at peace for like the first time in a long while, to be at this level. I'm like, I've made it. It was all worth it. I know it was bronze, but like that is good enough for me.
It's incredible.
And
like, it's
incredible.
Like,
so it is weird, because I think we're ingrained to be that, okay, cool, thank goodness that's done, what's next? So it is a bit alien to be settled, but I'm really enjoying it. But it is weird, and I think we haven't had that, because even, like you say, was there a moment? I think it was the seat racing. I think I really was battling, and I think the coaches wouldn't be offended to hear this and say, we argued, I was like, I am good enough, you need to give me a chance, you're not letting me race, you're not, I know I can do this. And you have to back yourself, because with the nicest way possible, you're a number to them. They don't, you can be the nicest person in the world, they just want to win.
Their job is to get results.
Exactly. They can't be too personal. And the moment was when we finally did the seat racing, and I again remember being very nervous, because I was like, if I can nail this, I'm in. And if I don't, then I think that it's going to be very, very hard for me to find another opportunity to show. And it went the best it could have possibly gone. I think I managed to win every run. Obviously, you change people I don't know if you know anything about seat racing, but lots of people switch, so it's not like just me. But I was like, okay, you can't possibly find a fault with that. And I remember going into the meeting afterwards, and again, I don't think he'd mind me saying, he just said, well, I'll eat my hat. And I was like,
really?
Yes, I made it.
Oh, good for you.
Unbelievable.
And that was the moment where I again went home and remember telling my partner what happened. And I remember him like fist pumping because he knew. He was actually like, yeah, you've done it, you're in.
Well, I just got goosebumps. So,
I know, it's making me
fantastic.
feel, yeah. I remember that. That was when I was like, okay, I think
Amazing.
I'm going to get the chance.
Fantastic. But it sounds like you can handle... It sounds like obviously you feel the pressure, but it sounds like you can handle it.
Like, yeah, I mean, I think everyone can handle it. But obviously we'll handle it in different ways. I'm probably not the nicest person to live with. So hats off to him. But yeah, I think it's hard. And I do think by the Olympics, a lot of us had reached our limit in terms of we needed a break. And I don't think I could have carried on after. You know, there's only so much pressure that a human can deal with, and definitely more mental for me than physical. I think physical training is obviously super hard, but we've all got the same bodies, we can all do that. But mentally, just every day's a competition. Every day you have to prove you're faster than potentially your best mates, you know, and not show any sign of weakness or any chance for anyone to be like, oh, actually maybe they'll be better than you in that. And that's why I was very grateful to be given the stroke seat, because I think for me, again, I remember my partner saying, if you can just show that you're indispensable in that seat, then you'll be safer. Do you know what I mean? Because not everyone can necessarily do that. So I was like, I just need to be the best stroke they've ever seen, and then there's less chance of me being, you know, it's hopefully more niche.
So the stroke seat is more of a pivotal role within the team, is it? Because you're dictating the tempo.
I mean, obviously every seat is equally as important, but I guess it's just a bit different, because everyone's following you, and I think some people are just better than others, so right. I'm not as powerful as the people who would sit in the middle, but not everyone could necessarily set the rhythm. So I was like, if I can just be good at that, then hopefully they won't feel the need to change it. And actually I never came out of that, so I think that's another thing that kind of made me feel more secure, is that if I found my thing, if you like, my role, to try and be the best at that, to keep my slot.
I mean, you've mentioned pressure quite a few times. We're really intrigued to know how it affects your performance. So if you've got that make or break day that you had to put all those times in, and you came out that's on top, which is amazing. You're going to the Olympics. There must be so much nervous energy. Does that affect your performance? Does it detract any of the energy or the levels that you have? Or how do you,
Definitely.
Can you channel it in a particular way? How does it work?
It's really hard. I think it definitely does take away. I think, for example, at the Olympics, we had to train every day whilst all our fellow crew members were racing and winning medals, and we had to row past the crowds. And I think if you let that in, you obviously peak in your adrenaline and get really excited, and it can be quite exhausting, like getting that all the time. So I think it makes you quite tired and stressed. And also the nerves make you very tense. So like technique-wise, when you're very tense, you just don't row as well, so you don't go as fast. So definitely affects it. And I don't think there's a way to completely not have it, but I think it's just practice is the way to minimise it. So during the World Cups and everything like that, you know, channeling thoughts, we've got sports psychologists, things like that, to sort of try and figure out what to think about and what to do to minimise any nerves.
Which must be difficult when you head into Paris.
It
You can do as much flying as you like, but when you're actually at the Olympics, I mean, that's a different level. That's the pinnacle, isn't it?
Yeah. Sitting on that start line, I can't. They read out my name as well. They read out the stroke seat name, and I just remember them being like, Great Britain, stroked by Annie Campbell-Orde, and I was just like, oh my God, the camera's on me. I'm sweating, I'm stressed.
I mean, literally, how many millions of people?
My hairs are going down.
It's funny, after like people from uni and that were like, I've never watched rowing in my whole life, but I was watching it on Saturday the 3rd of August, and yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's super cool. I'm really interested as well. The night before that final, like, did you sleep?
Nope.
No.
No, not really. I think, I guess again, it affects everyone differently, but I think a lot of us struggle to eat, you know, because you obviously have to. Also, nervous energy makes you just lose loads of weight because you're just constantly kind of on a high alert. So you have to eat almost even more, but you're feeling very sick the whole time. So I think, we struggle to eat, and sleeping. It was just, at that point, it was just like shut your eyes and try and rest.
And what's the sort of vibe in the team? Because I guess everyone has slightly different processes leading up to this, but is there like a common understanding where almost everyone is like, this is the sharp edge of it? Is everybody, some people just calm and cool, or is everybody just like, wide-eyed and like,
Everyone's definitely very different, and obviously we've also got to manage the different crews within that. The 8 is super hard because there's 9 people, and you have to manage 9 personalities, 9 ways of dealing with it. But then obviously you've also got it, in between crews, so you might not necessarily talk to other crews lots, especially for us, we were last, so everyone else has won their gold medals, silver medals, bronze medals, and while I'm absolutely thrilled for them, I still got to do mine. So I'm not going to be like, woo, like let's celebrate, like so excited for you, because I'm like,
focused.
I don't want to think about it. I'm so jealous that you've done that and that you've just got that.
People swan around the athletes village with a gold medal.
Exactly.
Thinking, I'm done.
Yeah.
Still got yours to go.
It's so hard because they're your friends and you've been training together and you're so happy for them, but you almost have to just like be like, well done, that's really good. And then, so that was really hard because obviously you don't want to fall out with people. But I think there was an understanding from everyone that
you've got a job to do.
You've got to do your job, and
you've still got it to come, I'm sure. And I'm sure there's a level of empathy.
Definitely. Everyone was really good about it. And we're really good about like not coming to dinner early when we would go to dinner, and coming in late and sort of not looking too happy or too relaxed around us. But it was really hard. And like I say, with 9 people, I'm someone who recharges from being alone. You don't get to be alone for the last 2 months. You're sharing a room with someone. Other people recharge from chatting and socialising, and it's just trying to respect everyone's needs. It's hard,
And there were people on the team that had been there in Tokyo and had the experience. They could share some tips and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. They're really good. Actually, the girls, the returners in our boat were really good. They, on camp, did such a nice thing. They got loads of videos from our friends and family and made a montage video for us all. So we all sat and watched that on camp, and obviously we were all crying. And they got us all like necklaces with 5 rings on to all match. They like sort of looked after us, if you like, without hopefully taking away from themselves. They were really, really good at it.
How nice is that?
Yeah, it was so lovely. And I think people apparently had done it for them. So then they did it for us. So
That's
then
so
any
nice.
of us staying will then do it. It was really, so they're really good at giving tips. But again, Tokyo was so different that I think even for them, the crowds and that, they were also quite sort of shocked, if you like, by it, because it was so different.
And so when it actually came to the race, I mean, without going through like every minute, could you give us a bit of an insight into? I'm sure, apart from absolutely your body screaming, but how did the race go according to plan as far as you're concerned? Yeah,
I think so. I'd say we rode probably better in our heat, and we beat Canada in the heat, and then they beat us in the final. But they just really built through the regatta. They improved because they did the rep as well. They just like stepped on it every time. So I think we were a bit more nervous, obviously. So I think we were a bit tenser. But it was a bit of a blur. But I think we all did everything we could, and I just remember being so nervous that I was like, just do what Henry, the cox, says, and just think about that. So just think about that for 5 strokes. Don't think about the fact that we still got 1,900 metres to go. And I think everyone just did what he said the best they could. I do remember at one point being like, we're going to come 4th, because that happened to us at World's Champs the year before, and I could see America, because I'm at the front, I can't see an awful lot, so I couldn't see Canada, couldn't see Romania, and then I could see the US moving, and I was just like, I actually haven't gone through all of this to come 4th. And I think I just felt all of us feel the same thing, and because there was just like a big Chavanage, just like, we're not going down without a fight, that's for sure. So yeah, but I remember seeing that and being like, oh my God, I can't. Please, no. And when we crossed the line, it's so confusing, isn't it? Because you race for gold. If we hadn't raced for gold, if we'd raced for bronze, we might have come 5th, or 6th.
Absolutely.
So we were going for gold. And so I think when I crossed the line, I was initially like, because the Canadians have got us and we just beat them on Monday, and the Romanians are so fast. I was a bit like, oh. But then when we then went to spin and watching the US and Australians, 2 huge countries who are so good and who have both beaten us, to watch them paddle in, I was like, I'm not disappointed. I'm buzzing. But I think it's normal to have that initial like, oh god damn it. But then as soon as that happened, I was like, I'm actually just buzzing. This is so
amazing.
cool. And then it was just happiness from there.
And how long do you have to wait post race for the medal ceremony?
Not that long, because we rode straight round to it.
Okay.
And then we had to do some media stuff, which was incoherent as far as I can remember. And then there's like a tent, and we had to get changed into the... I did think maybe we'd get a shower, but we didn't. It was just like, here's a tent, pull the curtain across, put the podium tracksuits on, and then go.
Cool this year,
which were cool, yeah. Everyone said that, do you like them? And I think because they're the podium tracksuits, we just loved them. We were just so happy to get to wear them, because you hand them in before, and there's that fear we might not get to ever wear them, So.
And then when you're waiting to be called up and you stand up on that medal ceremony and they're playing the national anthem, what's that? I mean, that just must all those crazy. Months and years of training as well. That
was crazy. That was really surreal. I think everyone was just so happy. Everyone was crying, I think, and looking into the crowd. It's so, honestly, when I crossed the finish line, it was like someone had unmuted everything, because you just spent all week ignoring the crowd, and then it just like turned on, and it was just so loud. And you walk onto the podium and you sort of think, oh, this is so cool, there's so many people, but they're not, like, for me. But then I waved, I think I'd found my boyfriend, so I waved, and the whole crowd like roars, and you're just like, so that literally you could lift your hands and everyone would just go crazy, and it's just so surreal. But it was really cool. Again, something you see on TV, you're like, this is actually happening to me.
Did it feel sort of like an out-of-body experience almost?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. And I was trying to find my family, because I found him, but I was trying to find my family. And I couldn't find them because it was so busy. And then my brother had his baby, my nephew, on his shoulders. So I just saw this really tall baby, and I was like, oh, it's them. It was really nice. It was, yeah.
I mean, that's especially all the steps you've been through to get there as well. It must have been such a testament to all those days you spent on the erg, and all those times where you weren't quite sure whether you should keep going. I mean, to get on that podium must have been...
And I think all of that goes through your mind when you're on it. You're like... again, in films, when like their life flashes and that actually happens, and you're like, I can't believe that I've made it here. Like, do you know what I mean? It's worth it. Like, every decision was right. Not right, but I could have not done any of those things. And I think, it was... I'll never feel like that probably ever again. But it was so cool. And I'll never forget it.
Never say never, I guess. But just on the future stuff, is there a plan for LA or?
I don't have a plan yet. I think I'm still processing Paris.
Of course, yeah.
But I've started. We're doing Head of the Charles, as I said before. So I've just come back this week to Leander and doing a bit of training.
Today was the first. You said you're a bit achy.
I was. I started on Monday, and I just joined in weights with everyone. I don't know who I thought I was, but I was like, it'll be fine. And I have some friends, so I just followed them, and they were putting weights on, and I was like, oh, I did that. Like, I've done that before, so it'll be fine. But I haven't done it for a few months, so it wasn't fine. I did get it up, but the next day I could barely walk. So, I had a day off yesterday because I was like, I need to lie down. So I'll try and get fit again, which is really depressing actually, how quickly it goes.
It's a matter of weeks, really, isn't it?
It's so sad. Trained for that many years and back to square one, but there we are.
But it was worth it for the celebrations in Paris, I guess.
It was worth it. I have no regrets.
Did you walk around? How long did you have your medal on for?
We actually had to wear it for like the whole next day with media stuff, and they are heavy. I actually didn't bring it. I should have brought it. You've probably seen. Have you seen one?
No. Well, Erin had one earlier, but I haven't seen.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't think about it.
No, that's okay.
But yeah, they are heavy, and so having that around your neck, you can feel it after a few days. But we wore it a lot, and we had got to do the Champions Parade, which was so cool.
Wow.
Went on like basically a catwalk by the Eiffel Tower, and we had to wear it. Oh, it was magical.
Was that Team GB champions, or was it the whole athlete?
All medal winners.
Right.
So all countries, so literally Canada were there with us, I think. So that was fun. and everyone, and you just like go down, there's music on, and sort of dance on this catwalk in front of the crowds. And we had a really nice time that it was on, because it was like sunny but kind of golden hour, I guess, maybe, I don't know. It was so nice.
It's beautiful. I was there for a couple of days, but it was raining, and then it stopped as we left, but it was just stunning seeing the Eiffel Tower it would illuminate at night time, and it was just brilliant.
So good.
And did you get to speak to any of your heroes out there, any athletes or anyone that...
We did get to meet a few, actually. I met Emily Campbell, the weightlifter. She was super nice. Wow. She was really nice. We were watching diving, and she came and sat with us, so that was nice. And then obviously saw her. We actually went to then watch her compete. Tom Daly was there. Amazing. Said hello to me, so basically famous. And obviously we watched loads of sports, so we got to see like Simone Biles. Obviously none of them know who I am, but I saw them and said hi to them. So it was really, really cool.
Wow. Yeah. Just I don't understand people that don't get sport or don't understand it. I mean, the Olympics is... I could sit and watch it all day, every day. I just find it fascinating. I
think there's just nothing out there that replaces it, in terms of even people who don't do sport just love the Olympics. Like everyone it's got something for everyone. You know, you've got the Paralympics, the Olympics. There's just no way that there's not one person that everyone can relate to, because there's so many different people, you know, different sports, different... Everyone looks different, is different. I think it's so cool, and I think... Like, I'm so grateful to, like, you know, the National Lottery and everything that fund it, basically, because I think it's just nothing else like it.
But I think also what people realise when they watch it is they understand the dedication, the sacrifice that takes to get there. And I suppose what you must have felt doing the parade, everything is it is that realisation of that. But I think that's really what gets me when I watch the Olympics, is it's hard to really comprehend the work that goes in for every individual athlete to get to that point. I don't get it, you know. Yeah. It's amazing.
100%. I think I definitely think people, I can only really go off my family, but my family definitely get it now, I think. And my mum said she's got, you know, new respect for all athletes because she's obviously now experienced it firsthand. And even my aunties and uncles and that, who maybe not so firsthand, I think from watching the Olympics, they all get it. They're like, the amount of work you've done, this has basically been your life's work, if you like. It sounds quite dramatic, but, you know, my adult life, it's all I've really done. So I think the Olympics does, again, highlight that and give that recognition to athletes. Because when you have to put down your profession as athlete, no one really takes it that seriously. You know, on forms and stuff, I feel like everyone maybe doesn't take it that seriously. Yeah. But the Olympics...
Well, it's just incredible. It's a moment that you'll cherish forever, you and your family, won't it?
Definitely.
Your
I'm so glad they could be there,
Yeah.
Really cool.
Incredible. Wow, it's just hearing this insight into it, it's just amazing. So what is next then? You see, you're not sure. I know it's very soon after Paris, and you've got to process all that, and you've got to start the training again. Yeah. And maybe that'll become clearer in time. But if you had a realistic goal, what do you think? What's the kind of immediate future looking like for you as an athlete, and maybe post competition? What do you have any idea? Will you might fall back to teaching or coaching, or?
I think I'll train at Leander for a bit. I think I'm not ready to go back to the National Training Centre. You know, just there's a pressure that just comes with being there, I guess. Even though it's not, you know, it's the first year of the Olympiad, I just don't think I'm ready to go back there yet. So I'm going to train here, enjoy it again, you know, get the fun in rowing, which obviously I did enjoy it, but it can take it out of it a little bit. And then I'm going to see how I feel. I would love to do some racing with the guys here, like with the club rowers, you know, forwards head and stuff, do some fun racing. And then I'll see if I want to, trial and race again. And if not, then I would love to teach English at a school and coach at the same school, you know, kind of do both. So I guess I'd have to start writing a CV or something. So hopefully something like that I'd really like to do. Secondary school, definitely.
Okay. Don't need to worry about that just yet, though.
No, I don't. I'm hoping... I don't know how easy it is to get a job, but I'm hoping being an Olympian's going to help. But
sure it will. I mean, that mentality and all the things you talked about today in the conversation, the determination, the drive, so many of those skills are cross-transferable to different industries. No question. No question. I think.
We'll see.
Well, we wish you every success with whichever route your career takes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing. Just fascinating insight into the life of a Team GB athlete, bronze Olympian. I mean, it's just incredible.
Oh, thank you. I hope I wasn't too rambly. I felt like I was getting into it.
No, I think for me as well, what's been so nice about this conversation is it hasn't been an easy journey. It's not been an obvious journey. And I think that those are the types of stories that a lot of people need to hear, as in it's, there is very rarely a straight line, okay, Wayne Rooney, freak, he got to join United at 16 and just everything then but I think that's quite rare, and I think for people to be able to hear your story, which is, netball could have been a thing, you nearly quit rowing, and then to sort of get to this position. I think that it's just such an amazing story. So no, definitely not rambly at all.
Okay.
It's been incredible.
Yeah. And I don't know anyone who's had an easy journey. Mine's one story, but I've obviously heard all the other girls, and there's not one person who's just like, "Bing, here I am." So yeah.
Well, yeah,
that's
that's testament to the Olympic athletes, because you can't just get there in 2 minutes.
No.
You've got to.
Everyone's had their own different, but their own, battles or hurdles that they've had to.
So based on all of that experience and all the success that you've had and all those difficult times and the drive and determination that you've talked about today, if you could go back to a young Annie in the playground when you had those people that weren't being particularly nice, and you could give yourself one piece of advice, what do you think that might be?
Probably just that they'll be messaging you in a couple of years saying well done.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it'll all come around, and just it's actually a blessing to have that, the height and everything. It's a blessing, and you just haven't found the right thing for it yet. And I think all the girls and the playground, you'll find your thing. You just got to keep trying different things until you find the one that sticks, I think.
Which you have in space, so well done. Thank you very much. That's a great answer.
Thanks.
Amazing. Brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Move. Yeah,
thank
amazing.
you.
Let's never ever go to sleep again. Wait, I think I'm starting to fade again. I don't want the end.